Ever since Endgame, Marvel's been flooding us with shows. And let's be real, some of them absolutely slapped, and some of them made us question everything. Today I'm ranking every single one, and yeah, there are hot takes coming. Drop your rankings in the comment, and tell me which show made you love or leave the MCU Disney Plus era. To start off this list, I want to give an honorable mention to the Guardians of the Galaxy Holiday Special. I know it's not a show, but it was a Disney Plus project that I enjoyed and had connections to the third Guardians film. So coming at number 12, we have Echo. I just didn't find a single thing about this show I cared about. I loved Echo and Hawkeye, so I was excited to see where her story would go, plus Kingpin being in it was another selling point to watch it. But it still wasn't enough. Kingpin wasn't even good in the show. The only good thing was the very end, where they hinted that Wilson Fisk was going to run for mayor to lead into Daredevil Born Again. At 11 is Miss Marvel. I want to start off by saying that I generally do like Kamala's character in this show and in the Marvels. Her family is also pretty funny, but the show as a whole did not work for me. It felt like I was watching a Disney Channel show and not an MCU project. It felt very childish and like it wasn't meant for adults. I understand that a lot of it takes place within the high school, but so does almost every Spider-Man film, yet none of those felt like they were made for children. I also like how Kamala's mom was the biggest antagonist in the beginning of the show, being the overprotective mother, but then suddenly changing her mind with no motivation to not be overprotective once she found out her daughter had superpowers and was fighting crime. Like, wouldn't that make her even more overprotective since she's putting herself in danger? At 10 is Secret Invasion. This is my most disappointing show because it had so much potential. It was a spy show with shape-shifting antagonists, which should set up amazing opportunities for a bunch of twists and turns to make the audience always question what was real or who is who. But nope, they played it way too safe and it was very lackluster. Plus they just made the most powerful character that has every single character's powers, which I feel like will hurt the MCU in the long run. At 9 is She-Hulk. I was disappointed because I thought the very first episode was very promising. It set up great plot lines for Jennifer's character to go through plenty of character development, but then turned the entire show into one big build-up of a joke with no punchline. The only positives you can take out of this show is Bruce and Daredevil. Next at number 8 is What If. This show is so hard to rank because of its inconsistency. Some episodes are amazing and some are just blah. Plus, I don't think they needed a huge overarching plotline with Captain Carter and the Watcher. I think this show should have just told good solo stories without any connection between the episodes. Plus, the show is only 3 seasons long. The entire point of What If is that there are infinite possibilities of outcomes, yet they didn't explore so many. They could have kept this show going on forever until people stopped watching it. At 7 is The Falcon and the Winter Soldier. This one is a show I changed my mind on. It was my most anticipated series, yet after the first watch of it, the show did not live up to my expectations, so I didn't like it. But a year later, when I rewatched it, I thought the show was actually better than I first thought it out to be. I think I was just expecting this huge event since we are still fresh off of Endgame, but these shows are meant to slowly build up character stories to lead into big movies. Plus, I'm a big fan of Bucky and Sam's relationship. At 6 is Agatha. I hate all the slander this show gets, and most of that is because people were hating on it when they first announced the show a year before its release. So if you hate the show before you see a single episode, obviously you won't end up liking it. I thought the tone and story for the show was great, especially the middle of the season when things really started to pick up. It got me excited for the next episode the following week. Plus, being released at Halloween with all the spooky vibes made it even better. This might be something that I rewatch every Halloween. At 5 is Moon Knight. Oscar Isaac did a fantastic job with portraying multiple personalities within his character. The tone and story for the show was also great. The only negative thing I would say is that I wish I saw some more fight scenes within Moon Knight, but it was totally understandable that they were showing the audience the POV of Steven when he blacks out as Mark takes over to fight. I know in the future they will show plenty more fight scenes with Moon Knight. At number 4 is Daredevil Born Again. The only reason I don't have this higher is because it's not complete. I wish that they didn't split the show up into 2 seasons or at least gave more of a conclusion to the first season's arc with hints at the second season's story, rather than completely making it feel like one season broken up into 2 parts. But overall, I think they did a good job at blending the Netflix series within the MCU. At 3 is WandaVision. This is the most unique show, as every episode they take you through a different decade of television, which was really cool. The best part about the show was finding all the Easter eggs and trying to figure out what the hell was going on. But after watching it once, I was worried that it wouldn't be as enjoyable to rewatch as I know what is going on now. But I was wrong. It was still fun to rewatch, and you can actually notice different things and see the show from a different perspective. At 2 is Hawkeye. I feel like many people are confused on how I have Hawkeye so high, since most people probably have it lower on their list, but I think the show was perfectly executed. Every character is great, and they all have fun dynamics. It has a simple story that isn't trying to be too big or anything that it's not. It knows exactly what it is. It has action, charm, and emotion. I also love how we finally got to focus more on Clint outside of the Avengers. Lastly, at number 1, I have Loki. This show I actually didn't care much about before its release because we already got all of Loki's story and then he died. But God, was I wrong. It was fun to watch, just like WandaVision, for trying to discover what is happening in all the Easter eggs, but with more action throughout the show. I also love the Loki and Sylvie relationship as it fits his character perfectly. He could never love anybody like he loves himself, and he ends up running into a female version of himself. They were also foreshadowing it at the beginning of the series, which I love when stuff like that happens, and then we have the payout later on. As long as they don't have babies, because that's when it'll start to get weird, I'm in full support of the relationship. I loved season 1, but then they were able to make season 2 even better. Plus, the show probably holds the most significance for the entire multiverse saga. That's all for my ranking. Let me know if you hate my list and what you would have done differently. So subscribe if you like my list, or also subscribe if you hated my list and are brave enough to debate more of your opinions on my future videos.